Welcome back to Lapora Games. We are playing some Dyson Sphere program, and this is episode number 2. In our last episode, we talked a little bit about mining and sort of getting some of the initial setup stuff done. We talked about how to move around the planet with your mech, and we just discussed how to hand build a few little things as you go. And now we're going to start to get into automation. So what I'll do is I'll briefly kind of explain what has happened since we last saw the space. When you last left, I think we had set up a similar mining configuration to this on a patch of iron that was right over here. And we basically mined that entire thing out. It's dry. There's no more iron there. And we built over top of it the starting of our smelting column. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this and show you exactly what we're going to do to sort of disassemble it and what we did over here to stack everything and how we moved all of the products over there. And then we will start to build a smelting column so that we can start to build some of our first pieces of automation. So what we've got here is 4 miners that finished getting rid of all of the copper ore out of this area. And we're now going to basically hit the X key and disassemble them all, get rid of all of the stuff that's there. And like if you remember from last time, if we hold down shift, we can delete the whole patch of belts as well. And now what you're left with basically is a set of storage chests and some inserters, they're sorters that are waiting now for their for a path to be underneath them so they can pick stuff up and either load it into the chest or take it out. We'll get rid of those as well. And we'll pop over here and do the same. And then we'll head over here to the end of our line and we'll just add, I think we're only going to need one more column of these storage things. I don't think we're going to need the full 2 because it was pretty empty when we were taking our last bits out there. So we're going to click on the first chest, drop stuff in, click on the bottom chest, grab as much of that as we can, head back over here and dump it in, click on the top one, dump it in. These are now empty. X key, goodbye. And then what we will do is we will hop over here and we'll grab the top guy down. If you right click on an open piece there while you've got your X key selected, it just sort of cancels the fact that you want to delete anything. Allows you to head back in here and just pick stuff up. So we'll just spin around here. Throw some more in there. Looks like we need one more. Just to put the last little bits in. So we'll grab that stuff, drop it in here. And now what we've done is I've sort of used the equator as the area where we're going to start our column here for the smelting of iron. And the reason for the equator is because it's simply the longest path around the world. You can, if we do this right, we probably would want to leave this as a bit of a sacred zone. So, not build anything on the equator exactly and sort of skip over and do it a few steps away. But in our particular case, what we're going to do here is we're going to build an initial smelting column just for, the startings of our production. And eventually we will wipe this out. And when we wipe it out, there'll be a nice clear path down here because that's where all of these chests basically started lining up. And it's also where our smelters will eventually sit. So we'll set up a small amount of it here. And what we'll do is we'll kind of just use this as the starting point because we'll eventually set up copper in the same way just to the south of this guy. And so we will grab some smelters. And I've prefabbed a bunch of this stuff, so hopefully it's enough to kind of get us through this patch here of building. Oops, didn't want to do that. We'll just back that one out. And I like to build in 3s and 6s. I've sort of noticed that this game tends to lean towards those as ratios. It's like if you want to double something, it's usually 6. If it's half of it, it's 3. That sort of thing. So let's just see if did we knock out power or did that stay okay? That stayed okay, good. And what I've done in the center here is this is a way to get resources into these storage chests. It comes down this path here and starts filling up those storage chests. Same with this for the iron. There's a path in here that loads into the iron chests, and then the iron chests offboard onto this side. And then we've got power running down the middle here. So the hope is here is if we are running this properly, we can basically put these at the edges of wherever they will reach. And just kind of run a set of power poles along here. And for each of the smelters, oops, didn't want to do that. For each of the smelters, if you click on the smelter, you'll see this white gear similar to the white symbol that's on top of the smelter. That just means there's no recipe loaded into here for what it's actually going to do. So we're going to click on the gear and we're going to tell it that for this particular set of stuff, we would like it to make plates. Here now it's telling you about the copy pasting. So essentially your left and right, your greater than, less than brackets are copy and paste. If you hit your left one, it copies the recipe. And then if you paste it, you'll see the white gear disappears and it's replaced with an iron ingot. Super easy. Now what we're going to do is extend this along here. And we'll extend this one. And we'll extend this one. We'll head back to the start here. And what we want to do here is we want to take some inserters. Basically pop them on here. And you can see this one here with the yellow symbol on it. That's because it doesn't have any power. So we've kind of stretched ourselves a little bit thinner than we wanted to. So we'll just back that one up. Make sure that we've got coverage on that. And you can see that as soon as the blue circle is sort of covering that white dot where the yellow power icon is, then that means it's in the zone and you're good. So we place that one. You can see all of these guys went green. They're good to go now. So that is that. And next what we want to do, I'm actually surprised that this is so slow. Are we missing some stuff here? Oh, we're missing a connection, that's why. Looks like right under here, just that one little piece there. That's kind of strange. Why is it doing that? That's so strange. Oh, this is a reversed belt. That's why. The belt is actually going the opposite direction. I see what I did there. That is my bad. There we go. And we'll just delete that last guy because we don't need him. There we go. Now we're feeding a full belt. That's what we want to see. And now what we're going to do actually is we're going to bring this, the return of this product pretty much right back to where we are. So we're going to run this belt backwards. we'll probably just stop it right as it meets up with that one. And the goal here is so that now we can put a few storage bins in place along here. And then what we'll do is we will set some inserters to grab those plates basically off the line and load them into the chests. There we go. Did that not work? What are we doing here? There we go. And then these guys here will put the sorter so that it's putting them out onto the belt like so. Like so. And that will start to fill up those bins. Now, are we going to need all of this smelting? Not yet. You can see here that we're actually overdoing the line. Like we're pulling everything off to the point where at the end here, it's barely backing up. And on this side, by the time it hits this guy here, the belt's already full. So basically 4 of these smelters at the beginning is enough to saturate an entire belt. But we're going to leave this kind of in place how it is right now, because at some point we'll come back here and we'll upgrade this belt so it's a faster belt, fits more products, and so at least we've got a good smelting column here to start. Now what we're going to do is fill in the copper one exactly the same way. Now, what I can tell you about copper is that you use a heck of a lot less of it. So here we've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of those. Here I'm only going to do 4. So I'm actually going to convert one of these. So we're going to do like 1, 2, 3, and 4. No, we're out of those. Let me just go grab some more. I also made a little storage facility over here, kind of next to all of the windmills, and just threw a couple of everything into each one so that we would have spares and not have to build much once we're in. Oh, surprisingly, I don't seem to have any of those, so I will grab some of that. And we'll head back over here. And 2 ways of grabbing some stuff. We can either grab it out of one of these bins and just throw 100 in our person, or you can actually go on the smelter itself and grab out of the smelters array, which just kind of starts those guys moving again so that they're actually building some plates. And we'll go in here. We got a bunch of stuff queued up. That's not good. So let's talk about what we do in this situation. So I've got a bunch of stuff hand bombing right now. I've got a bunch of materials that I need to build. How do I start to build some stuff here and not have to worry about the backlog essentially that we've got here? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set up a little small production facility. We're going to set up an assembler here. I'm just going to set them up where I've already got some power so I don't have to worry too much about power. And I'm going to put a storage box. Oh, we are out of storage boxes. Well, we're going to hand feed him some stuff to build a storage box. So we'll put some of this in there. You can basically, when you click on the assembler, it comes up here, and this is where you choose the recipe, same as with the other one. So we want it to be building some storage boxes for us. And then you can click and drag products right up into here, into those hoppers, and it will essentially fill the device up. But what you can see is we need these stone bricks first. Stone bricks, if you look at the made in, it says in a smelting facility, or you can hand make them in your replicator. So I don't have my replicator handy, but what I do have is I've got a smelter. So I'm going to put this smelter down. We're going to tell it to build us some bricks, and then we're going to load it up with as much stone as it'll handle. And it'll now sit there and bake away until we have a full whack of bricks here. And if it's a little slow, what we can do is just drop another one kind of right next to it. Maybe right next to that one too. We'll copy paste the recipe into these guys. And then we'll also go in here and fill them up as best we can. Just got to kind of keep clicking on each of them here to make sure that they don't run down. If you hold down the control key, when you click on this, it'll fill the whole thing up with whatever it can take for that product. So I'm just holding down control when I'm clicking on this stuff, and it's topping up each of them. So this is sort of like early game building options. When you get into the later game, you'll have some better manufacturing capabilities here. But we'll go here and we'll hand bomb some of this in there now. And now it's going to build us a few boxes. As soon as we have one box, we can grab that one. We'll put it here right next to our assembler with just a little bit of a gap. We don't want it squished right up to it. We want it kind of one away. The reason for that is so that we can put a sorter on here, and we can have it feed directly into the machine. So this is one of the methods that you can use to load up your machine with the different products. Now what we've got here is we've got some iron and we've got some bricks that we're using, and we're using them at an even rate. So 100 bricks and 100 of the plates will give us whatever number of boxes. So when you've got one of these sorters, if you click on it, you have the option to set a filter. And what this does is this just says you can only put in plates. And if I click on the other inserter, I can say you can only put in bricks. There's not really much of a reason to do that here, but if you did have some sort of a mixed belt, or you were doing different kinds of outputs, like if this thing was actually producing more than one product in it at a time, which some of the more advanced like chemical plants and things like that can do, then you can pick which one of them that you're putting out onto a particular belt versus just sort of grabbing anything. And then what we're going to do is we're going to grab one more box. We're going to put it on the other side. And we will put some outbound inserters or sorters and drop all of those into storage. Now in here, we're going to drop a whole pile of plates. We'll grab a few more from one of these storage bins. We're just going to kind of fill it up here till it's about half full. So we can actually back a couple of these out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we'll back this one, this one, this one, this one out. And we will hop down here and we will, top these up. Where's my control? we'll just pop in these bricks so that it's building something while we're doing this. It's not something you want to do on the regular, but when you've got a backlog like this where I'm waiting for a whole pile of circuits to be built, we're just going to roll with it. That's not such a bad way to hand bomb a few things into a couple of production facilities. And you can do up to 3 different products in a single chest and have the arms insert each of them into the assembler. And then on the output side, you can have up to 3, but typically with the orange level, which is sort of the tier 1 of everything, it's so slow that just a single inserter is even overkill. Like it's sleeping half the time, and then it puts one in and then back to being asleep again. Actually, now I can do this. And we can put inserters on here. What? Need a valid connection? Why isn't that a valid connection? That's kind of odd. Let's just back this up a bit. We'll just move this out 1 extra square. Let's just see if that does it, because we should be able to just insert directly into, there we go. Just requires being an extra space away. And we just need a power pole to, oops, not there. That's not going to help. Right here. And then we'll drop 100 in here and 100 in here and the rest in there. And now we can just come by and collect them here. Those will keep throwing them in at a reasonable rate. And I'm just going to walk over here and collect a little bit of extra stone from the stone mining that we put up. We put extra miners on stone, and we did the same thing on coal over here. The reason for the coal is so that we can use that to power our mech in the short term here. So I'm just noticing that his battery is starting to deplete. So as soon as I've loaded up these stone into the chests here, there we go. Just gonna go over to here so I can grab some of this coal, fill it up, and then drop the rest back into the bin. And we'll head back over here and we'll grab a last little bit of stone. There we go. And one more load ought to do it. There we go. Collect a few more of these. And drop them in there. And actually with this end one here, I can actually put an inserter on there too, to just go directly into too close. Yeah, figures. In theory, I could just set this up to be a direct chain right into there. All right, but now we should have a ton of boxes, relatively speaking. So we'll just top up the copper ones here. There and there. And we'll drop a few of these guys. We'll do like 7. It's almost lined up with the iron. And we will grab the which line is which? Can't see. Oh, there we go. Yeah, this one here has, when it gets dark outside, it actually gets hard to see what's on each line. One thing that I do like about this that Factorio didn't really do all that well was like with lack of item with Factorio. If you look at the belts, it actually looks like the item that you produced. Or sorry, with Satisfactory it's that way. And in this one, what they do is they just use generic boxes, and then they stamp on the lid of the box what is inside, which kind of makes sense. That's basically how it works in the real world. So why not kind of mirror that in your logistics program here? So what's nice about that is that then everything's got a very similar look and feel. Your graphics card isn't jamming away trying to render different images for each item, that kind of stuff. So it's actually pretty friendly to the graphics card environment. So we'll do that, and then on this side, we'll kind of just break things there so that what we can do is get this output here coming out of here, and it'll just unload this guy first. There's not a whole bunch in this particular chest, but I just want to get that all onto the line first so that I can use that bottom chest for storing the bricks when we're done, the ingots. And so we're going to grab a few things from here, and we're going to run out of those right there. So we'll just run back again to storage, where we've got a few more of those. Here's something for you guys too. So when your storage starts to get a little bit cluttered, I just learned this the other day. I've been complaining for months about how this game is so horrible because it doesn't really have a good way of getting everything automatically stacked in here. Like you can see there's kind of 200 here, and if I went and grabbed some more, I could put like 50 of the same thing here, and it doesn't stack things nicely in here. But this guy I just learned about auto sorts your inventory. So it stacks everything, squishes it all down, and just compresses your storage or your inventory down to its bare minimum, which that is awesome. That I like. Copy, paste, 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 close, paste, paste, paste. Get a few more of these going. And we've already got those guys pulling in, so we just need to put the outputs on here. I always like to just double check everything before I do this, because there's nothing worse than getting a belt full of stuff that you weren't expecting, going into somewhere that you weren't expecting. All right, so that'll keep going almost done. We'll just give this a quick second, and we'll talk about what we're going to do from here. So now that we've got some of these base products going, we're going to talk about setting up our production lines. And one of the things that you'll learn in this game rather quickly is if you start building your stuff north-south. And what I mean by that is if you were starting here at the equator and you started building north towards the North Pole or south towards the South Pole, because the Earth, because any planet is round and spherical, what you end up with is if we go a little bit further north here, and we're going to have to walk all the way up to about here before we see our first one, there's correction lines. What these correction lines are is basically because the world is curved, any two spots, if you were to follow them directly north towards the pole, will eventually curve towards each other and they will meet at that pole. So things kind of squish. They get smaller and smaller and smaller and closer together the closer to the pole that you get. And so when you are trying to place things, you'll see that there's these correction lines. So if I place a set of belts here, and I decide I want to go here, and then I want to go up north, you can see that my belt kind of takes a bit of a jig jog as it goes across that correction line. So you can imagine what kind of a pain in the butt that causes when you've got something like a, I don't know, say a storage bin, and you line it up with 3 paths down below like this. So there's kind of this path, and this path. But on the top side, we're lined up with this one, but these two are way off to the left and way off to the right, just because of that shift in the lines. And so now when you're trying to put your sorters to come out and onto a line, let's just see if we can simulate that here. So if we have a line going across here and we go to try and hook these up, the middle one works great. The next one out, if you look, it kind of looks weird. Like it's like stuck off the side of the building almost. And in some cases, this won't even let you build because it's too steep of a corner for it to kind of pull out and line up with the lines here for how you build stuff. Those are usually the ones that have a belt coming out of them instead of a sorter like this. The sorters can kind of realign themselves. But for the items that use the... Nope, we're talking about the statistics panel, aren't we? Okay. We'll show you that here in just a second. But basically, it kind of... You can sometimes find yourself in a situation where you can't actually have a belt come out of it because it's going across that meridian line. Or that correction line, sorry. So building east-west stops that from happening, because if you build your path here and all your belts are all going this way, they're never going to have to jig jog because you can literally wrap the entire planet and no issues. And then if you do have to go across a meridian line or a correction line like this, you just have to find every once in a while there is a path that just lines up. So if I look at this, what I can see is that, where's my lineup? This one here lines up. So I can come straight across at this one, and then not again until here. And then not again until here. There might be this one in the middle. Yeah. So these spots line up, and there's no deviation. So if I do need to come across, I just have to line it up with one of those, and then everything looks pretty peachy keen. So not a big deal. So with all of that said, because we want to build east-west, which is essentially what we were doing with the smelting line, we're kind of just going to build parallel to it a little further north. That's what we're going to end up doing to start a production line. And to begin with, because everything's going to be pretty compact and close by, we're just going to hand bomb into storage bins to start, and eventually we'll feed those from an automated process of some kind. We'll set this up so that these things are basically being belted out, and then maybe when some of these chests are empty here, we'll wrap them out and we'll kind of bring them back into where we're doing the production of all the stuff. So let's take a look here. What have we got? We're backed up here on this. We can empty that and that and that and fill them up in here. And we're going to let that run for a little bit. And what we'll do is we'll pick a spot that's just a little bit further north here, like this kind of area here, and we'll start our first production line. So the first production line that I want to do here is going to be gears. So we'll pick a spot where we can build on potentially both sides of the line. We'll use this as our center line, and we'll run a second belt next to it and a third belt on the other side, all in the same direction. And this is going to be our supply belts. And then we're going to place one of these guys, kind of line them up here on the meridian lines. And we'll do a second one and a third one, a fourth one, a fifth one, and a sixth one. Now we need to fix our power poles, so I'm just going to take this guy and move him a little bit further out. Probably be somewhere around there. And we're going to have these guys set to a recipe of gears. Like so. And what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to use this as a supply line, this is a supply line, and then this will be the return line coming on back. And we're only going to do half of this build because we're only going to have basically a single line of stuff coming back here. We're not going to have both lines to be able to fill both sides of this, but we're going to leave enough space for the other side to get built. So we'll put one of these out just as a placeholder so that we can see the distances that we need here. And we're going to give this guy an input into each of these. And for our output, we got to just wipe this belt out real quick and run them back the other way. And we'll run it out from this side. As soon as we have a spot to put it, there we go. And from here, and from here, from there, and from there. Now, if you're ever placing one of these sorters down and you're like, oops, I'm in the wrong spot, you can drag it a little ways to the left and a little ways to the right, and it will resort itself out. So don't worry too much if you're a little off, but you can't go much more than about 2 or 3 in either direction. So just something to be aware of in terms of your placement of that stuff. So we'll draw another one here. You can see we're starting to run low on power. So we'll need to extend that here shortly. And with that all coming back here, what we want to do is just set up a collection storage bin right at the end of the line. And we'll run this guy just out a little bit further. And we'll grab from this and bring it in there, and we'll grab all 3 lines. Just so we're pulling it off the belt as quickly as we can. I don't know if we'll fill it with 6 of them or not, but that's close enough. So we've got our first ones emptied on this side. Just going to take a quick peek on how we're doing with the offboarding of that stuff is done. Good. So this is now an empty stack that we can repurpose here for the outbound, or for the, I guess, for accepting the plates. Like so. And because it's out of copper, we're going to reattach the copper line here to that. And now it'll start draining as well. So with all of that being said and done, I think what I'd like to do is I'd like to actually run... See if we can do this. Let's see if we can empty out this storage bin here. Oh yeah, we've totally only got 2. So we'll get rid of those 2, and we'll back this up 3 or 4. And we're going to do a stacked set of what the heck are these? A stacked set of conveyor belts. I'm having a brain fart here. My apologies. And we're going to run the second batch back over top of the first batch, if we can. Not sure why that's wanting us to start down a level. Okay, so that's on the ground. That's 1 up. So I want to start at 1 up. And I'm going to run it down to here and then across. Now that leaves enough room for stuff to go underneath the belt. And then what we're going to do is connect from this one to that one and have our products basically continue up the belt and along here. So we'll grab this guy and we'll bring him back down to ground level. We're going to bring this down and connect it up to there, like so. One of the hidden, I guess, ores, for lack of a better description, is soil in this game. So every time you place down a structure, if you're placing it down on a hill, it's kind of hard to see the hills, but here's kind of a little bit of a hill here. If you place it on here, it will level that out and it will save that soil. And eventually when you're able to build concrete bases, you'll be able to actually fill in some of the water and stuff with backfill. So soil is a sort of hidden resource that there's not really a cheap or easy way to mine it. You can't just send a bunch of, I don't know, graders out to grade it all and load it into dump trucks and bring it back to you. But it is a resource nonetheless. And in the early game, it actually is a bit of a challenge while you're still on this planet because you have so much water. So it's important to kind of build in ways that you'll be able to grow it later. So I might build this here, and then I might build another line right next to it, and I build another line right next to it. But I might have to stop that line at some point up ahead and continue it on the other side of the water or something along those lines. That's very normal to have to do in this game, in the early part of the game anyway. And so now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to stop these guys from collecting. I'm going to leave the first one there. And if we can do this right, we'll kind of get these guys inserting back out onto the line, just filling it in so that we've got a full belt going over there. So this will fill up a dual stack of these guys just so we have a little bit of stuff sitting around, and the rest of them will all just slowly empty out over time. We'll be able to backfill those with more furnaces once we get to that point. So these guys now are spitting out onto the belt. We're heading down to the end. We're building our gears, and we're sending them back down the middle. And we got a storage bin at the end that's picking them all up and storing them for us. So that is probably the simplest form of an assembly line that you can build. There's a lot more complicated builds when you get further up into things. There's people that design for compactness, like how small of a build can I do to build a certain number of things. There's other people that don't care. They're a little less rigid like me, and I just go for I'm trying for ratios more so than like fill a belt. Do I care how many I'm producing exactly, whether it's 3,000 a second or 10,000 a second or something like that? No. But I do try to fill a belt, and I do try to keep a little reserve of storage right at the spot where it's being produced, just so that if I'm looking for something, I can find the production line for it, head to the front of the production line, grab a few of them, and take them to wherever I need to go. So in this case here, you can see it's just going to keep filling up this line until it's filled up this entire storage. Now, if you don't want the full 30 slots in use, you can use your left click button and you can limit it and say, you know what, I only want 15 slots of this. And once the 15 slots are full, stop taking them off the line. Things will start to back up. The iron will stop getting consumed, and it'll wait for further instructions basically. So what I usually do, I usually leave one small box like this, and I just let it fill up so that there's however many 30 stacks of whatever the item is. Some of the items stack in hundreds, some of them stack in 20s, some of them stack in 50s. So in this case, it'll be 300, it'll be 3,000 total, because it's 100 per slot. There's 10 slots long. That's 1,000 times 3 is 3,000. So there'll be 3,000 gears in this box when all is said and done. And I just let it sit here and build passively in the background until it's done. The next production line that I'm going to set up, and what we're going to do is we're basically going to leave a bit of space here. So we've got 1 line, 2 line, 3 lines worth of stuff in the middle. I think that's 3. Easiest way to test is just to throw down some belts and just see. Yeah, we got our 3 lines in between, and then our next assembler. The reason for the 3 lines is because ultimately in the short term here, you're going to need a return line of some kind. Maybe you're not dumping them into the middle belt. Maybe you're dumping them onto an outside belt because you've actually got 2 or 3 components traveling down the middle. So we're going to just, we're going to leave that space in there for future sort of growth. And then we will start our belt line here. So we'll kind of do that and that and that. And then we'll place another assembler right opposite. And now for this one, what we'll do is we'll try and do a 2-component recipe. Actually, yeah, a 2-component recipe. Do we want to do 2 components first here? No, we want to get... We're going to get a different production going here. So instead of these guys, we're actually going to put some smelters here instead. And we'll do 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we buggered that guy, so we're just going to remove him and put him back. In the middle row there. And a couple more smelters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7, 8, 9. And with this one, what we're going to do is we're going to build the magnets, which is sort of one of the two components that we need in order to build the, what is it? Electromagnets? What's the other variant? So that's magnet, and this is magnetic coil. Sorry, magnetic coils. So we'll copy paste this recipe down to these foundries all the way down the line as best we can. We'll walk down here just so it'll finish building the stuff. Paste this recipe here and here. Like that. And with this one, I think what we'll do too is we'll also reverse the middle belt. So we'll use 2 lines to feed it and a return line down the middle. So we'll bring this one back here like so. And we will place our storage chest kind of in line with our existing one, just to keep everything nice and neat. And we'll make sure that we're grabbing off of this line back into the storage, all 3 of them. And once that's complete, we will now need to find another place to do our mining, because we basically mined out that entire patch and we haven't got a new one yet. So what I'm going to do is this is sort of the 2 different single items that are created from iron. I'm going to end the episode here. We will finish this off. I'll build this sort of off camera here, same way that we did with the gears, just sort of belting things in, and then the outputs on the center, collecting things here. And I'm going to set up the copper mining on here because we'll need to get rid of this in order to put our next build down. And we've already got the stone mining going on here. So what I might do is kind of build a smelting array just below here, kind of in this area. And we'll smelt this stone in a column along here. And that'll help us make some time to have this copper patch mined out. And we will locate some additional iron that we can bring in. So there's some coal up here. Actually, this will be good to do just because we're out of fuel. We'll walk over here and I'll show you the M menu. So the M menu gives us our map, which in the case of this, it's going to show us the globe. Now, because of the level of tech that we have right this second, we can't necessarily see everything right from this level to tell what it is, but I can kind of see there's a patch of something there, and if I mouse over it, I can see that that is iron. And so when the sun comes around here, I'll use this to kind of locate wherever my next closest patch of ore is. Some coal down there, nothing in here. Oh, there's something here. Oh, here we go. Yeah, there's 3 patches in this area. That's right. So we'll get some mining going on down here, and we'll kind of belt that stuff back up and over here and into our smelting array and into feeding the magnets as well. And once we've got all that set up, then we'll be ready for the second the next episode, which is going to be putting together 2-item combinations. So where we need 2 different materials in order to build instead of just one like this. With one, it's easy. 2 supply lines, grabbing from both sides and putting in the middle. With 2 items, you can only grab a maximum of 3 belts across. So you're going to need those 2 belts for supply for 1 column, basically, of builders. So it'll be very similar to what you're seeing here. It's just going to be one side of the belts, though, instead. And when we do our return path with the 2s, there's a couple of options, and I can show you what that looks like in the next episode. So until then, keep your sticks on the ice. Thank you for watching, and we will hope to see you again. If you like what you saw today, we play on Twitch on Saturdays or Sundays, depending on the week, and come join us over there. You can chat with us about some of the builds. You'll get to see what a bigger base looks like before you get there in the episodes. And if you've got some ideas for how to make a better mousetrap, I'm always willing to listen, and I'll include some of that content in some of these future episodes. So thank you very much. Keep your sticks on the ice, and we'll see you guys soon.